This is the main news on Camnet TV. Welcome to it. Let's look at the top stories. Government urged to suspend officials implicated in the Swigilite stone scandal. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA disappointed with illegal land transactions. Zambia's inflation increases from 9.4 to 9.6%. In our international headlines, U.S. First Lady Jill Biden arrives in Namibia for 5-day Africa visit. In sports, MBEWE urges junior copper bullets not to drop points. We have the details shortly.
On Monday, 27th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Mr. Xavier Chishimba, President of UPP.
What you are saying is, we in the UPP, if we want to fight against corruption, we must separate, as a matter of agency, policy formulation from implementation. Right now we have line ministries making policies, implementing policies. It is wrong.
As they discuss governance, corruption, justice, and economy.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Living in a wonderful country full of opportunities for investment in property. Make sure your investment is guaranteed. Are you in the process of buying or selling land or properties? Don't waste your time and money. Contact SGK Property Company on 0966 61 07 55 or 0762 166018. SGK, a company that will conduct due diligence for you before you purchase any property. Go for a tried and tested genuine company in Zambia. SGK Property Consultants.
Thank you so much for joining us to present the main news. My name is Louisiana Lupumbwe, and now the news in detail. Mongu High Court Judge Wilfred Mumma has appeared before the Lusaka Magistrate Court and pleaded not guilty to willful failure to comply with the law and abuse of authority of office. Justice Mumma is facing 2 counts of willful failure to comply with the law and abuse of authority of office. In the first count, it is alleged that Justice Mumma, between April 1st and December 31st, 2018, while he was Commissioner of Lands, willfully failed to comply with the law, namely Section 84 of the Land and Deeds Registry Act, in a manner he instructed his subordinates to cancel the certificate of title relating to public property without following the law and applicable procedure. In the second count, Justice Mumma is alleged to have abused his authority of office by requesting the Army Commander to surrender the certificate of title with respect to the said property and offering it to the Patriotic Front Party, an act arbitrary and prejudicial to the interest of the government. Now, when the matter came up for plea Thursday, before Magistrate Trevor Kasanda, Justice Mumma took a plea and denied the charges after the state informed the court that consent from the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, has been gotten. After reading out the charges, Magistrate Kasanda entered a plea of not guilty and set April 18 as the date for the commencement of trial. Early this month, Police Deputy Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale confirmed the arrest of Justice Mumma in a statement. The Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company has urged various players to come on board and help in mitigating the water contamination crisis that has hit many communities in Lusaka in the wake of floods. Speaking to Camnet News, Company Public Relations and Customer Services Manager Shamba Mzungu states that the water utility is currently limited as it is operating with 2 water bowsers, which is deploying to communities systematically. He, however, notes that the water utility has increased the chlorine dosages to the maximum allowable limit to mitigate the negative effects of the water in the meantime, while working on long-lasting solutions. At the same time, we have details in this report.
From various communities in Lusaka have been raising concern on contaminated water coming out of their taps, stating that they have since started depending on bottled drinking water as they do not want to risk their health. Some communities have been experiencing both sewer pipe leakages and water pipe leakages, a situation which has put their health at risk in the wake of floods brought about by heavy rain. Other residents with water tanks have also reported contaminated water coming out of their taps as the water table has been compromised with fecal matter. In an interview, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company Manager for Public Relations and Customer Services Nchamba Muzungu states that various measures will be undertaken both in the short and long term.
But what we have done now is to increase the monitoring. Our surveillance has been heightened. We've deployed operators at the borehole sites so that they monitor what is happening. They monitor the chlorination on the online chlorination going on at the borehole sites so that we take care of any threats which may arise. We have also increased the chlorine dosage to the allowable maximum limit. Again, that is to ensure that the water that we are supplying is of the required or prescribed quality.
Meanwhile, commenting on the situation in Lusaka's garden compound, where the sewer ponds have flooded and are now pouring into the community, Mr. Muzungu states that various treatment plants are being set up under the Lusaka Sanitation Project, further stating that the long-term measure will lead to decommission of the ponds once this is complete.
Not until we complete the other facilities are we going to decommission that facility. So for now, I think we continue doing what we are supposed to do in terms of maintenance of the facility, spraying to ensure that we reduce the mosquitoes. For now, that is what we can do to mitigate the situation there.
He has, however, noted the need for people to build in designated places, stating that most people complaining about the sewer ponds have built their houses less than 500 meters from the ponds, contrary to regulations. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Republican President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA has disclosed that 55,000 hectares of customary land were converted to state land without following the due process in the last 2 years of Patriotic Front and government. President HICHILEMA has wondered who authorized the conversion of such a huge portion of customary land to state land. The head of state says he will not encourage a situation where land is converted from customary tenure to state tenure without following the due processes. Speaking during a meeting with traditional leaders in Lusaka today, President HICHILEMA has reiterated his commitment to work with traditional leaders without segregation in order to improve their livelihood and that of their chiefdoms. And House of Chief Chairperson Senior Chief Nkula has urged government to give a time frame for when the construction of the 286 palaces will be completed. More in this report.
Thursday, 23rd February 2023, Zambia's President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA led House of Chiefs in a meeting centered on the need for government and traditional leaders to work together in addressing the challenges the country is faced with. During the meeting, President HICHILEMA pointed out the displacement of people from their land in the previous regime after government converted 55,000 hectares of customary land to the state as one of the challenges. He assured all traditional leaders that there will be equal treatment as opposed to the previous situation where some traditional leaders were treated superior than others in order to promote unity.
Because we've stated it before, Chair of the House of Chiefs, that this new Dawn government is committed to restoring and to according dignity and respect to all the traditional leaders in our country without segregation, without being selective. And I dare say it, that in the past, some Royal Highnesses or chiefs were more chiefs than others. This will not happen going forward. This government will accord equitous treatment, befitting treatment to all the Royal Highnesses.
The head of state also says working together with traditional leaders, government will help facilitate and restore dignity and respect among itself and traditional leaders and bring investments that will help the growth of the economy.
With you, the Royal Highnesses, on all matters that affect, I repeat, on all matters that affect the welfare of your people, the people you superintend over, we shall work with you. On all matters relating to your welfare as traditional leaders, as partners.
The President has since assured that government is committed in working closely with the chiefs on all matters concerning their welfare and delivering services to the Zambian people. Sampa Mulenda, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Operation Young Vote Executive Director Gessin Yorenda has advised President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA to inform the nation on how officials in his administration are taking a lead in upholding national values and principles. On Friday, President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA is expected to address the National Assembly on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. And Mr. Yorenda says the focus must be directed at public service workers and not much on the aspect of ordinary citizens. He says the nation must be made aware of how government officials are playing a role in the promotion of national values and principles.
We will be addressing the National Assembly or Parliament with regards to the issue of how the values have been have really worked for us, how we have implemented the values as it were. Now, for us, we are taking a very different perspective this time around. We do not want or expect the President to speak on the values with regards to the citizens. Yes, it's important. The citizens should come in. But I think the emphasis should be on how government itself has actually promulgated, how government itself has implemented the values. Is it that government has been patriotic? Is it that government has been all the values that are espoused in Article 8 of the Constitution of the Republic? There is need for government to account and account at the level of government. Then yes, citizens can come in, but at a very minimal level. But then if government is able to account, then we will be able to see that there's transparency in that particular area.
Former Mufumbo Member of Parliament Stephen Masumba has called for the suspension of government officials apprehended in the Sugilite Stone scandal, where named government officials along with some police officers have been accused of illegally transporting the mineral suspected to have been stolen. Addressing the media Thursday, Mr. Masumba states that while it is acknowledged that one is innocent until proven guilty by the law, there is need to move them out of the way to allow for proceedings to take place without any undue influence. 8 people are currently in police custody for the said charge, among them LUAPULA Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Roy Mwansa, Nchelenga District Commissioner Msonda Mutepuka, and Mwansabombo District Commissioner Morton Sikazwe. Details are in this report.
While many have described the recent move by the Zambia Police in Central Province of arresting 8 people in connection with the illegal transfer of Sugilite stone from LUAPULA Province, among them key government officials, as an indicator of the current administration's commitment to fighting illegal activities, former Mufumbe Member of Parliament Stephen Masumba says the arrest is not enough. Addressing selected members of the media Thursday, Mr. Masumba has advised that those named in the scandal should be suspended and put on half salary in the meantime to allow the law to take its full course without obstruction. This is in a case where LUAPULA Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Roy Mwansa, Nchelenga District Commissioner Msonda Mutepuka, and Mwasabombo District Commissioner Morton Sikazwe, as well as some police officers who are offering escort to the Sino truck carrying the mineral from Wombe mine, have been arrested for illegally transferring the said mineral valued at $30 million United States dollars, which was disguised as manganese.
We don't want to have a perception that should insinuate or suggest that, look, because they were still holding on to these positions, so there was some undue influence, and so that is why they've been acquitted and so on. It is a well-known fact that according to the rules of natural justice, a person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So at the end of the day, these people, even if they've been arrested, they will still have an opportunity to be tried before the court of law. And while they're being tried before the court of law, it is either they are convicted, it is either they are found guilty, and if they are not found guilty, it is either now they are left free. And it will be at that point that I would say now the president, if they are left free, then the president can still find room to reappoint them back to their substantive positions, or maybe redeploy them elsewhere.
Mr. Masumba further states that this is a wake-up call on the state of many mines across the country which have not yet been operationalized due to various court procedures, giving room to criminals as the minerals are lying idle. He has urged Minister of Mines and Minerals Paul Kabuswe to step in and ensure that these matters are quickly resolved outside court, to also see locals benefiting from employment.
Mr. Minister, can you enforce and ensure that all these outstanding issues, which also includes Sikasenseri mine in Mwenilunga, we also need it, as like yesterday, we need it to come back on board, so that once that mine is operational, to me at the end of the day, it is going to create employment opportunities to the people of Northwestern Province, and not only to the people of Northwestern Province, to the nation as a whole. People will be employed there. And also it will also contribute enormously to the national treasury, and I mean it will help also government to ensure that it meets certain demands that are regards to issues of providing healthy amenities, infrastructure development.
Meanwhile, Mr. Masumba has also emphasized the need for Mufumbwe to be quickly recognized as the capital of Northwestern Province, stating that this was collectively agreed upon by chiefs within the province in 2012, noting that the district is also more central than Solwezi. He explains that doing this will help in decongesting Solwezi while allowing it to operate as an economic hub. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The governing United Party for National Development, UPND leadership in Northwestern Province has appealed to the Provincial Permanent Secretary to effect some transfers among human resource officers and directors in the province. Speaking at a media briefing in Solwezi District Thursday, Northwestern Provincial Youth Chairman Bruce Kanema says he has received several complaints over the poor conduct of civil servants in the province. Mr. Kanema has cited the health and education departments as being among the most corrupt offices. He has since appealed to civil servants who do not want to work with the government to resign on moral grounds than doing wrong things.
Human resource officers in all the districts, I want to appeal this to the Provincial Permanent Secretary to ensure that he effects transfers, because teachers are complaining. Favoritism, tribalism being exhibited by human resource officers, and corruption in various departments, and more especially the health department and education. There is a mess. Who are these people trying to impress? Because when we talk when we talk of civil service and service delivery, if you are not ready to be a civil servant, just resign and stay away, than doing wrong things in a government office so that people who fail to blame you, but they blame the UPND government. I think we are not going to allow this. As a party, we are the party that is ruling.
Dundumwezi Constituency Member of Parliament Edgar Singombe says that tourists are avoiding passing through the constituency despite it being one of the shortest routes to tourist attractions such as the Kafue National Park due to its state of underdevelopment. Speaking to Camnet News, the lawmaker notes that while a lot of roadworks will be done in the area using the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, the role of ensuring equal distribution of development still lies with the central government. He notes that the area also lacks social amenities which can motivate tourists to pass through the area, noting that they would rather use longer routes just to avoid the constituency.
We want to work on the Kalomo Dundumwezi road, which road was done by Chinese, but I think the workmanship was very poor. We were told this road was all-weather road. So I was waiting to see what government meant then to say all-weather road. You know, it's a gravel road. If I took you there to tell you the truth, the road is already gone. So we need this machinery to do light grading on it so that we can patch up here and there. But what we need, a permanent solution to this road, is actually to upgrade it to Bitutina standard so that we can have increased trade between the two districts, Testezi and Dundumwezi and Kalomo. But additionally, I think, can we tell the world that actually the easiest way to get to Kafue National Park, it is passing through Dundumwezi. How long does it take for a tourist to travel from Lusaka into Kafue National Park? It's quite a long distance, but how long would it take? Okay, let's be realistic. From here to Kalomo, it's about 400 kilometers. From Dundumwezi or from Kalomo to the park, it's another 70 kilometers. So I'm talking about 500 plus minus kilometers. But here's a tourist who says he comes to Livingstone and he only drive about 200 kilometers to Kalomo and then branch off to Kafue National Park using the Kalomo Dundumwezi road. So for me, it's a shorter route into the national park.
The Zambian government and the Namibian government have signed a bilateral trade agreement that will foster the development of a strong trade and investment agenda between the two countries. Speaking at the signing ceremony in Lusaka Thursday, Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipokamlenga, says there have been so many talks on actualizing trade among African countries, but its implementation has remained a challenge. The minister says through the agreement, Zambia and Namibia will forge a strong trade partnership that will see the two countries go into contract farming to improve the agriculture sector of the two countries, among other areas of collaboration. Meanwhile, Namibia's Minister of Industrialization and Trade, Lucia Lipumbu, says many businesses in her country have already expressed interest to forge ties with the Zambian businesses. More in this report.
Bilateral trade among European countries has seen their economies grow and jobs created for their local people. The story is, however, different in Africa, as many African countries have struggled to grow their economies due to lack of trade amongst each other. While many African leaders have convened at conferences to discuss on the need to increase trade amongst African countries, implementation of these agreements have still remained a challenge, and Africa has continued to lose huge sums of resources. It is for this reason that the Zambian government has signed a bilateral trade agreement with the Namibian government that will see the two countries begin to actualize trade agreements away from the talking that has yielded less results. Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipokamlenga, now explains.
We change the narrative with how we want to do business with our colleagues in Namibia, where we want to engage into contract production, where we have specific people to produce specific number of tons in not only grain but even other crops, vegetables and other products that will have a predictable and destined market. It's the same thing that we want to do. We go far beyond the seas close to our borders to get fish, yet our brothers and sisters are also crossing our roads and beyond our borders to sell their fish. We have to engage in a way that we get their salt, among many other things, with specific quantities. And through this, we'll grow our revenue sharing, we'll grow our investment portfolio in each other's country, and we'll share in wealth.
Meanwhile, Namibia's Minister of Industrialization and Trade, Lucia Lipumbu, who is in Zambia for a work visit, has appreciated the relationship that Zambia and Namibia enjoy, but says it is high time that the two countries took advantage of many business opportunities that exist between them and started to trade.
Our business affiliation should flourish within the spectrum of the SAGA relationship. We have all subscribed to the SAGA to trade agreement, and all of us should therefore make use of that fertile ground to exchange goods and services between our two countries. We must learn from each other in terms of technological transfer. We should also capacitate each other. Skill development is part of what we need to strengthen in terms of ensuring that we achieve the dream that we have.
According to the United Nations report from 2020, Africa loses about 88.6 billion United States dollars annually due to tax inventions, funds that could be used towards local climate, poverty reduction, and food security initiatives. These loopholes can only be sealed if Africa took advantage of each other and begin to seriously trade amongst each other. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Government has unveiled the first ever 10-year capital market master plan aimed to provide a clear roadmap to place the Zambia capital market in a position of being a focal point of sustainable financial solutions for both domestic and international investors. Finance Minister Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, who unveiled the plan on behalf of President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA in Lusaka Thursday, says a document is an important tool that seeks to organize various actors in a manner that will be convincing for holders of the capital to consider Zambia as a choice of destination for investments. Meanwhile, Securities and Exchange Commission Chairperson Ruth Mugala says the master plan that has been launched seeks to shift the current capital market model and take a diverse, inclusive, innovative and customer-centric approach. More in this report.
The capital markets in Zambia have primarily been premised on the stock market, which has seen many small and medium enterprises fail to take advantage of the capital markets to grow their businesses. In order to shift from this narrative, the Zambian government, through the leadership of President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA, says it is keen to transform the capital market, and it is for this reason that government, through a consultative process, has developed the first ever 10-year capital market master plan aimed to provide a clear roadmap to place the Zambian capital market in a position of being a focal point of sustainable financial solutions for both domestic and international investors. Minister of Finance and National Planning Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane has since launched the master plan on behalf of President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA in Lusaka Thursday.
Doubt that once the capital markets master plan is fully implemented, we shall reap the benefits that include: 1. Creation of employment opportunities; 2. Offer alternative livelihood; 3. Reduce poverty; 4. Help expand government revenue base; 5. Contribute towards sustained economic growth; 6. Facilitate blended financing needed to support public-private partnerships; and 7. Ensure that citizens do not only participate in the economy but also benefit.
Meanwhile, Securities and Exchange Commission Chairperson Ruth Mugala says the process to develop the master plan was consultative and is hopeful that the launch of the document is a game changer to the Zambian capital markets.
Expectation is that the country is in a position to attract capital inflow, which opportunity, if harnessed properly, should result in low cost of capital.
Minister, for capital markets to have the intended impact on our economy and thus economic development, like job creation, which is important, the common goal should be to have our capital markets develop to a level where these financial markets enable us.
Other stakeholders have since welcomed the plan, which they hope will not just remain another document but be actualized.
Actually, Honorable Minister, my own personal aspiration is that by the time we go to COP28, we should have at least 2 green bonds issued in Zambia. And then we should be looking to exceed the 400 billion target by 2021. I'm very confident about that.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thank you so much for staying on. Just now we take our first commercial break. We'll be right back with more news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
On Monday, 27th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Mr. Xavier Chishimba, President of UPP.
What you are saying is, we in the UPP, if we want to fight against corruption, we must separate, as a matter of agency, policy formulation from implementation. Right now we have 9 ministries making policies, implementing policies. It is wrong.
As they discuss governance, corruption, justice, and economy.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. Zambia's annual inflation rate has accelerated to 9.6% this month from 9.4% recorded in January 2023 due to a rise in prices of selected non-food items. Zambia Statistical Agency ZAMSTAT interim statistician General Mlenga Msepa told the press in Lusaka Thursday that annual food inflation remains the same at 11.6% from the January figure. He says this development was mainly attributed to mealie meal, maize grain, rice, fish, dried kapenta, both in Pulungu and Siyavunga, and vegetables. And Mr. Musepa says the country in January 2023 recorded a trade surplus of 6.1 billion kwacha in January 2023 compared to a deficit of 0.5 billion kwacha recorded in December 2022. Mr. Musepa says exports, mainly comprising domestically produced goods, increased by 42.6% to 21.0 billion in January 2023 from 14.7 billion in December 2022. United Capital Fertilizer Zambia Company Limited says it stands ready to meet the demand for fertilizer for the 2023-2024 farming season. Speaking to journalists this afternoon, company board chairperson Chance Kabahe says the company currently has over 82,000 metric tons of compound D and urea fertilizer in stock with a production capacity of 200,000 metric tons per annum, which is likely to double by next year to 300,000 metric tons per annum. Mr. Kavai says that this production capacity, where the company will be able to meet the demand from government-side individual farmers and cooperatives. And Mr. Kavai, who assured that the fertilizer being produced at the Chilanga plant is of high quality, further says the construction of the modern fertilizer plant worth $595 million is progressing well and is expected to be completed with the said time frame.
Be producing a minimum of 200,000 metric tons of D compound, and we do know that on average, coming for D compound is normally in the mix about 175,000 metric tons or lower. So we'll be producing in the region of over 200,000 tons. So that will definitely be met, during the coming season. We are also confident that come 2023, going forward, next year, instead of 200, we should be having excess of 300,000 metric tons. So with that, we see that we can satisfy government demand, and the rest will be sold to any farmer who would like to get fertilizers direct from us. And as we go forward, we should be able also to test the regional market, so that for the fertilizer that we produce in the country, we can also bring foreign exchange in the country. You may have seen, some of you, if you've gone across that side. If you haven't, I advise you to just go and check. So the construction of the urea plant is in place now. We have commenced doing that.
The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission says in 2022 it managed to recover over 5 million kwacha for consumers who were unfairly duped through anti-competitive conduct by some businesses. CCPC Acting Executive Director Brian Lingela says that from the total amount recovered, about 3.2 million kwacha was recovered as refunds, and about 1.9 million kwacha was as a replacement for defective or unsuitable goods. Mr. Lingela says during the year under review, the Commission saw an increase in the number of poorly executed services, mostly in the banking and financial services sector, which accounted for 64.47% of the 2,412 violated provisions recorded.
To rid the market of unsuitable goods. To this effect, a total of 1,401 trading premises were inspected in the 51 districts across Zambia. Close to 1 million kwacha worth of goods were seized and destroyed as they were unfit for sale. Misrepresentation cases accounted for 12.52% of the violated provisions that were recorded. The Commission is concerned with the growing trend by some traders to deliberately give false information to consumers in a bid to secure a sale. This is despite knowing fully that such information was incorrect. Civil servants particularly have been the most affected by this particular vice, particularly through purporting that they have sought for and committed to paying for insurance services when in fact not.
ZIX General Insurance Limited has expressed concerns about the low awareness and appreciation of the value of insurance in Zambia, which is reflected in the low insurance penetration levels. ZIX Managing Director Charles Nakozo says insurance uptake in Zambia stands at 3%, adding that for the sector to make a meaningful contribution to the country's gross domestic product, GDP, the insurance uptake needs to increase to at least 7%. Now, Mr. Nakozo says this can only be achieved if the media is well informed, and says this is what has prompted the institution to introduce media awards that will appreciate media works that aim at raising awareness on the importance of insurance. Meanwhile, the Pension and Insurance Authority Registrar says as the world deals with emerging challenges such as cybercrime, global pandemics, and climate change, there is need for the insurance industry to provide solutions that make the sector relevant to economic growth.
Categories to be recognized are print, radio, and TV, news, and documentaries. We also have the CEO's Award to be presented to the most outstanding entry. Winners will get the following prizes. First place, cash prize, 15,000, a trophy and a certificate. Second place, cash prize, 10,000, a trophy and a certificate. Third place, cash prize, 8,000, trophy and certificate. Then, the major one, CEO's Award, cash prize, 20,000, trophy and certificate.
As individual, community, and national applications and benefits. This is the reason why, as we deal with emerging challenges such as cybercrime, global pandemics and climate change, we need the industry to provide solutions that will make the sector relevant to economic development.
We'll take our last set of commercials. When we get back, we have the rest of the stories.
Living in a wonderful country full of opportunities for investment in property. Make sure your investment is guaranteed. Are you in the process of buying or selling land or properties? Don't waste your time and money. Contact SGK Property Company on 0966 610755 or 0762 166018. SGK, a company that will conduct due diligence for you before you purchase any property. Go for a tried and tested genuine company in Zambia. SGK Property Consultants.
Welcome back in our international news. U.S. First Lady Joe Biden arrived in Namibia on Wednesday as part of a 5-day trip to Africa that will also include a visit to Kenya. She's expected to promote the empowerment of Africa's women and its youth, as well as the hunger ravaging the Jout-Pern Horn of Africa region. And now dancers representing Namibia's different ethnic groups, some wearing red, white and blue, others dressed in bright pink, greeted her with singing and dancing. The country has not welcomed a high-level U.S. official since 1996. The First Lady's trip is part of a commitment by President Joe Biden to deepen U.S. engagement with the fast-growing region. Meanwhile, South Africa unveiled Wednesday new tax incentives to encourage investment in the production of clean power to help the country battle an energy crisis that has sparked worsening blackouts. Here's a roundup of international news.
The First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, arrived in Namibia Wednesday, beginning her 5-day visit in Africa. Upon arrival, Mrs. Biden was greeted by Namibian First Lady Monica Ginkos and other Namibian and United States government officials, then headed to the State House to meet Namibian President Hage Ginkos.
We met each other in December, and we're just continuing the relationship. And Monica and I think it's safe to say that we became good friends instantly. It was just one of those things where you meet somebody and you connect, and so we work on a lot of the same issues, and that's why it was important that I continue my work and come and show support for Namibia.
Madam First Lady, what do you hope to show Dr. Biden on her trip here? What's important to you?
Jill Biden's visit aims to support democracy, empower women and young people, but mainly cement the U.S.'s ties in Africa as actors like China and Russia gain momentum on the continent.
There's a lot in Namibia that we'd really like to show Dr. Biden. I know it's her first visit to Namibia. I know it's the first time an incumbent American First Lady has come to the country. And I think what she talked about was very true. It is a very vibrant democracy. We've got a very large youth population who drives that democracy very energetically. And it's fully enabled by our constitutional values, but also by the personal values of our leadership. You may not look at, but he's really the ultimate Democrat.
The United States First Lady is set to go to Kenya after Namibia, though the White House has withheld specific details of the First Lady's activities in each country, citing security concerns.
South Africa on Wednesday unveiled new tax incentives to encourage investment in the production of clean power to help the country battle an energy crisis. The measures are part of a package of interventions announced by the Finance Minister to alleviate outages and increase business confidence.
From the 1st of March 2023, businesses will be able to reduce their taxable income by 125% of the cost of investment in renewables. We will also introduce a new tax incentive for individuals to install rooftop solar panels to reduce pressure on the grid and help ease load shedding. Load shedding has become more persistent and prolonged, impacting on service delivery and threatening the survival of many businesses.
The continent's most industrialized economy has been laboring under a devastating energy crisis for months, largely due to underinvestment in the generating plants. Earlier this month, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a national state of disaster over the crisis.
Severe damage were caused by Cyclone Freddy in the city of Mananjari in Madagascar. More than 16,000 Malagasy were affected and some 4,500 houses flooded or damaged. Until now, we have not received any help from the state. For example, I have not even a little money to buy food for my child. It was really hard for us to face the cyclone. We were able to recover a little bit after the last cyclone, and now another one is already destroying the city. It is really difficult for the residents. What we ask now is that the people in charge within the state come here to help us. 4 people were killed by the passage of Cyclone Freddy on the large island of 28 million inhabitants, according to a report given by the morning by the National Office of Risk and Disaster Management. The storm could affect more than 3.3 million people in the region, according to UN statistics.
That's all the news we could accommodate in our international. Time now for sports. Under-20 coach MBEWE says the team has been working on areas they did not do well in the opening match against Benin to ensure the triumph over the Gambia tomorrow. And striker Rickson Ingambe says the game against the Gambia is a do-or-die encounter for Zambia. In a pre-match press conference at Alexandria Stadium today, MBEWE said he expected a tough match against Gambia, but his boys would be ready. And Ngambi said the Zambian team will be looking to putting up a good show against the Gambia. The Gambia and Zambia go toe-to-toe with the West Africans, topping the game after having beaten Tunisia 1-0 in the opening match. Kickoff for the match has been set for 19 hours Zambian time. And on that sporting item, we come to the end of the main news on Camnet TV. But before we go, let's look at some of the top stories that made the news. Government urged to suspend officials implicated in the Sugilite stone scandal. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA disappointed with illegal land transactions. Zambia's inflation increases from 9.4 to 9.6%. In our international news, U.S. First Lady Joe Biden arrives in Namibia for 5-day Africa visit. And finally, MBEWE urges junior copper bullets not to drop points. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, coming from Colossians 3 verse 13 to 14. Accepting one another and forgiving one another if anyone has a complaint against one another. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. Above all, put on love, the perfect bond of unity. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Louisiana Lupumbwe. Bye for now. Good night.